human experience, what does it take for us to be big for God? That might sound dualistic, but it's not, you'll see. And I mean mind-blowing, never thought it could happen big for God. Because that's why we are here. You know that, right? You know that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To be the best that we can be. And not to stuff ourselves any longer. I don't care what's going on this planet. We are here for a reason, a purpose. And it takes a willingness to dare greatly. That's a book by Brene Brown, because that's what we're doing this on. Brene Brown. It takes that great willingness to dare greatly. If we are God essence, then we are pure consciousness. Everything is pure consciousness. As David was saying, this is moving. It's moving because it's pure consciousness, it's pure energy. Everything is moving and it looks stagnant. So in our perception of life, it looks like it's stagnant. It's not. We are evolving, we are always evolving. And we evolve God who expresses through us as us. So to dare greatly means that we do things that others might not understand. People they might be uncomfortable with. They might even criticize, might find fault with, might think we're doing wrong. And yet we dare to do them anyway, right? We dare to do them anyway. This is standing in our truth. To dare greatly means to be willing, to be scared, but dare to do it anyway. Not knowing how, but do it anyway. Feel self-conscious, but dare to show up anyway. Not have a clue of the outcome, but dare to take a risk anyway. Feel naked, but dare to be authentic and real, because authenticity is everything. We are each individualized. We say this all the time. Our teachings teach us this. Let's do it now. Let's stand up for truth. Let's be authentic, and let's speak our truth when necessary. We could just run around unaffected by anyone else's opinion. Wouldn't that be great? What no one else, hey, what you think about me is none of my business. Wow, what a great way to live life. Never self-conscious, and simply let God be God as us, through us completely, unencumbered and uninhibited. And while it sounds a little in separation there can be no separation. Our teachings teach us what one does affects the all, which we're going to get into today. So there's nothing that someone does somewhere else, halfway around the planet, or even in our country, that does not affect all. It affects all. And so we believe in unity. We believe in a oneness. So what would it be like, really, if we really deepened into that concept of no matter what the appearance is, there's only one here, because that's what our teachings teach us. There's only one here. We can't just practice them when everything's going so wonderful and nice and lovely. We have to practice them all the time. In fact, that's where evolution comes from. Using these teachings, evolving ourselves, which is evolving God, because we're one and the same, at the same time, when things look rough or dark. So, what would it be like really then if we did not believe in separation and would just put it aside for a minute, at least for this next few minutes, half hour. How can we share our gifts if there's no one to receive them? This is if we were living separate lives, separate beings, because this nation is divided. It appears to be divided. So we come back into our consciousness and we say there can be no division in the oneness, right? In the absolute allness of all that is, and we'll sure find out when we leave these vessels if this is true or not, because it might not be, but I believe it is, because that's how I want to live my life. How depressing not to live it that way, to be stuck in all the conditions. So, how can we make a difference for good in the world if it's just a world of one? Not to mention, who would we talk to? I mean, I would lose my mind. I have no one to talk to. I have to talk to people. I'd wind up like my sister who talks to herself very loudly all the time. We have to talk. We do. And who would I dance with and who would I laugh with? We need each other. We need each other. We are a community of humans, humankind. We absolutely need each other. Not to mention, who would we hug? I mean, usually it's when I come here, I get to hug everyone. I mean, people aren't that big on hugging outside, usually, I find. And wouldn't it be pretty boring and dull? We really wouldn't want any of that, I'm quite sure. Even if there may be moments in life when we think it might be a good option to be alone. And there are times, self-care, there are times where you just need the world to go away so you could just be. But not now. So we have a bit of a paradox here that I want to talk about. We really need and desire other people around us so that we can be big enough for God, for this infinite allness of that is, because we're expressing the essence of who we are. And yet our fear of options, our fear of looking foolish, our fear of being wrong, our fear of being judged, our fear of being hurt, that's a big one, a fear of being hurt. The list goes on and on. That keeps us stuck in the smallness that we sometimes find ourselves living in. I know I can think real quick of, thank God I got over being hurt, but people don't go on to other relationships because they've been hurt once, and then they're afraid to go out and experience relationships all over again because they think it's going to hurt them. So who's losing out there? Who's losing out? So you may recognize this reading that I'm going to read for you here because I think it's really pertinent in this time. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly but errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, and who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least failed by daring greatly. Those are words by Theodore Roosevelt in a speech entitled citizens of the Republic. Or it's referred to also the man in the arena. It was written on April 13th, 1910. These words are what made that speech famous and what inspired the title of the book, Dare Greatly, by Brene Brown. And I'm going to be using that book for reference for the next few talks. Ernest Holmes tells us in Science of Mind, I love this book. We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. This is what is happening, my friends, right now. And you can see it. Quantum physics is proving everything is consciousness. Everything is exactly as Ernest Holmes described it. Religion or spirituality, whatever you want to call it, what we believe in, and science are walking hand in hand. They are united. So metaphysics and quantum metaphysics, we're going to be having a workshop on that soon, I hear. That's going to be awesome. So, and her book goes deep into that, and is founded, her book, Brene Brown's book, is founded on scientific research. And I'm sure you recognize her name, her books. She's famous from the TED Talks when they first came out. So this month we're going to explore how her research walks hand in hand with spiritual wisdom. As we take a deep dive into one quality of the human experience that can open us up to our divine uniqueness. We are so unique. It can open us up to expressing who we are in any way that we want to express it, as long as it harms no one else. Be it. Take that chance. Step out. Take the risk. There'd be no joyful gathering if I didn't decide, or I didn't decide, if Spirit didn't come through me and push me and say, yeah, you're doing this. You know, and I've said this before, I don't know how to run a spiritual center. I've never been on a board of trustees. What do I know about that? But Spirit knows everything. So I listened. For once in my life, I listened. As people know me, know I can be hard-headed. I don't always listen. But I did listen this time, and boy, am I glad I listened. What a gift I give to myself. I'm not just giving it to everyone else, I'm giving it to me, which is such a gift, such a gift. So this morning we're going to dip our toes into the waters of vulnerability by exploring the way of living that Brown defines in her books, wholehearted living. I don't know if you're familiar with Martha Creek, a lot of you are. She's been here many times over the years, and she's doing a whole series on wholehearted living right now on, I think it's on Facebook. But yeah, it's real. Anybody listening to her? Yeah? All of you? Wow, great. She'll be happy to hear that. I'll let her know. I'm going to be staying with her soon. But listen to her. Google her. Google YouTube. What do? You Facebook her. And go on there, because she's one of my mentors. Absolutely beautiful human being. And she lives wholeheartedly. She truly does. So here's how Brene Brown defines wholehearted living. Wholehearted living means cultivating, and that's a really, really important word here, cultivating the courage, the compassion, and the connection to be able to live in a place where we can say, I may be imperfect in what I do, and sometimes I'm afraid, and sometimes I play small, and sometimes I mess up a little, and in big ways. But that doesn't change the truth that I am also worthy of love and belonging and connection. That I am absolutely capable of being gigantically big for God and accomplishing amazing good in this world, which is so needed now. Accomplishing greater good. Don't let circumstances throw you off balance. Keep in mind that that light that we are is always shining. I don't care what darkness is around us or through us or wherever. We see the darkness and we move through it because the light is always there. So, where was I? I'm quoting her and then I went off. I am also capable of being gigantically good for God and accomplishing amazing good in the world. And that is exactly what I am going to do, she says, because that's what I came here to do. We all have a life purpose, each and every one of us. And according to Brown's research, the willingness to be vulnerable emerged as the single clearest value shared by all men and women whom she identified as wholehearted, people who live wholehearted. We don't talk about vulnerability much, but it's a big deal. It's a big thing. It really is a big thing. Those individuals that she worked with attributed everything from their professional careers to all of their relationships and being successful and proud parents to being able to be vulnerable. And she writes this: being willing to be vulnerable is the catalyst for experiencing courage, compassion, and connection, and is the core, the heart, the center of meaningful human experiences. That's how important it is. Have you ever been vulnerable that you can think of? And then woke up one day with a vulnerability hangover? You know that feeling. I know I have. I think I said something or did something all the time. Not all the time, but and I wake up the next day and wake up and I'm nice and, oh yeah, that was a good sleep. And I went, oh my God, I didn't really say that, did I? I didn't really do that, did I? And it's that willingness to be who you are and not be afraid of the opinion of others. Just live with the hangover, it passes, and we become better people. We may have had experiences where we were vulnerable, authentically real. That's what it means, authentically real. Who we really are, not afraid of what anyone else is going to think about us. Willing to risk, willing to take those risks. And we got hurt, and someone used it against us, and we failed. Yep, that happens when we take a risk. There's no doubt about that. If that has happened to you, think about this statement from Mark Twain, who I think is one of the greatest philosophers, and actually he's pretty funny. But he wrote this: we should be careful to get out of an experience only the wisdom that is in it, and stop there, lest we be like the cat that sits on the hot stove lid, and she will never sit down on that hot stove lid again. And that is well, but also she will never sit down on the cold one either. So that's when I talk about, being hurt and then not willing to take a risk again. Because the greatest things are there waiting for us. Remember, this is an infinite field of limitless potentiality that awaits us. It all awaits us. Anything we can desire or dream of is already present. But we have to truly be open and receptive to embrace it. Willing to be vulnerable is the price, it's the price of the entrance ticket into the arena of being really great and big for God, for ourselves, because God is ourselves, right? According to Brene Brown, people who live from the most wholehearted place have some things in common. In fact, Brown's research suggests that there are 10 things that those who are wholehearted work to cultivate every day. And they work, and some things they work to let go of. And every single one of them takes the willingness to be vulnerable. So I'm going to list them and make a few comments on a few of them. And we will take a deeper dive into them in the next few talks. So your mission is to, I have these all in your bulletins, don't look now, but we're going to do it at the end. But this is all in your bulletins so you can have them to take home. Your mission is to look at them, each one of these spiritual practices, and I ask you which of them, if you practice them wholeheartedly, which of them would lead you into being more than you ever thought you could be. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing. It could be anything. More loving, more joyful, more kind. It could be any of those things. So here they are. First one, they cultivate authenticity and let go of what people think. It's like Don Miguel Ruiz all rolled into one. And this actually reminds me of the title of a book by Terry Cole Whitaker, who I heard speak many years ago, fantastic speaker and author. What you think about me is none of my business. That was the name of her book, and I thought that was a great name. She is a great writer. And I love Ernest Holmes' statement in Science of Mind. Who you are is good enough if you would just be it. You're already enough. You're already more than enough. We have to be it, claim it, feel it. Who cares what other people think? And then the second one, cultivate self-compassion. Let go, if you're one of these people, of perfectionism. That's not my thing. Perfection, but I know people, everything has to be perfect. And they make themselves crazy because it never happens. Third, cultivate a resilient spirit and I said that already. They cultivate a resilient spirit and let go of the numbing and powerlessness. Sometimes we look out at the world and feel powerless. We don't think we can do anything. What can I do? Everything. By being that beneficial presence, by showing up in your own true power, your own true light, the things that you believe in, and you don't let anyone take that away from you. That's how you show up, and that's how you get rid of that numbness and powerlessness, because we are powerful creators. 4, they cultivate gratitude and joy and let go of scarcity thinking and fear of the dark. Marianne Williamson, who's been quite in the news too, once said, she once said this in one of her books: we must dare the dark and stare it down. Isn't that great? And she wrote, only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. We can't ignore the darkness. It's in our face a lot of times, but we stare it down and we stay centered in our light. Very important, very important. They cultivate creativity and let go of comparison. Don't ever compare yourself to anyone else ever. Don't do that. They cultivate calm and stillness and let go of anxiety as a lifestyle. They cultivate laughter, song, dance, letting go of, this is a weird one, letting go of being cool. Now, I think I let that go many years ago. You know, that was a big thing growing up. From Manhattan, you gotta be cool, man. But anyway, I won't get into that. I've let that go. Yeah. I let that go. I let that one go. But, and then being in control. I haven't let that one go yet. But being always in control. They say that if you come from a home when you were a child of a lot of abuse, that you most likely will be a controlling person later on, because you have to control what you can, because you couldn't do it then. So that's my excuse. And I'm not working on it. I don't mind. I'm pretty good here, though. Don't you think? I just come in and straighten all the papers out. Then I turn my back and everyone straightens them right back where they had. But you have to be able to laugh in life. While our master teachers might not have preached and taught the power of being vulnerable, each of them was, because they all dared greatly. Each one. Moses was vulnerable. Jesus was vulnerable. Ernest Holmes, Dr. Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa was vulnerable. All of these people stood out in their truth and did not care what anyone else thought of them. Today we have dipped our toes into the idea of vulnerable, this word. I've repeated it, I've said it so many times in this talk that it's getting harder to say. Wait a minute. Yeah, thank you. Vulnerability. Okay, let me go back to this. This is important. Stop. As the key to expressing our uniqueness. That's what it does. We express who we are. We're all unique. Over the next few weeks, we will go deeper into this, and this morning we have the handout and I told you about, but for now we're not going to talk I'm not going to talk any longer. We're going to just do a little experience, and then you'll need your papers so you can take them out of your bulletin. Just hold them in your hand, don't read them now, because I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes a little bit, or a lot. Just take a nice deep breath. We are so centered in this now moment, centered and open to experience and accept these 10 spiritual practices. And don't take them on. Not all of them, because that will be overwhelming. There's 10 of them. So you know, go home, you're going to read this and pick one that you could maybe use throughout the year and work on and embody and embrace it, that might help you experience more peace, more love, more joy in your life. So what I'm going to have you do right now is to repeat them after me. You have them in front of you. I'll say it, and then you can all say it, all right? I cultivate authenticity and let go of what people think.
I cultivate authenticity and let go of what people think.
I cultivate self-compassion and let go of perfectionism.
I cultivate self-compassion and let go of perfectionism.
I cultivate a resilient spirit and let go of numbing and powerlessness.
I cultivate a resilient spirit and let go of numbing and powerlessness.
I cultivate gratitude and joy and let go of scarcity thinking and fear of the dark.
I cultivate gratitude and joy and let go of scarcity thinking and fear of the dark.
I cultivate intuition and trusting faith and let go of the need for certainty.
I cultivate intuition and trusting faith and let go of the need for certainty.
I cultivate creativity and let go of comparison.
I cultivate creativity and let go of comparison.
I cultivate play and rest and let go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as my self-worth.
I cultivate play and rest and let go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth.
I cultivate meaningful work and let go of self-doubt and supposed to or I can't do.
I cultivate meaningful work and let go of self-doubt and supposed to or can't do.
And finally, I cultivate laughter, song, and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control.
I cultivate laughter, song, and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control.
And so, my friends, this is the beginning of our next 3 weeks of Brene Brown's being vulnerable. And it really, in this time on this earth, we are needed. We believe in the oneness, in the unity, in the absolute pure consciousness that is all, that is everything. And so let's just pick one or two of these and see what happens. See what happens. And so it is.
And so it is.